Okay. Hey guys and girls. Special show. This is the season finale of season 4. And I'm going to be completely transparent with you. This has been a wild ride. This has been something that's a dream of mine. Something I finally was able to put time and effort into. Money to a point. And it's just something that I'm finding out that I have a passion for. Everybody feels that I've found my niche because I can talk. Everybody says, you need to be doing something with your ability to talk. Sure enough, here I am. One of the goals I had coming on and doing a podcast was to be transparent with my listeners, my followers, my viewers, if you will. And part of that transparency will be to tell you that my co-host Trey and myself had a little bit of differences here in the last couple of months. And that's why you haven't seen him in a while, to tell you the truth. We had some different vibes about how the show was going. And so it's paused. I know there are some of you that have asked, some of you that have been wondering as followers of the show. And that's just all I have. That's it. Right now, we're just kind of doing our own thing. And he's a busy guy. And we'll see what happens. I miss him. I listened back to some shows, which we'll get to today. And I was listening back and I realized there's an element that I just can't duplicate. That's something that comes natural to him. And like I hope I have my own that comes natural to me. And we'll see what happens. But either way, I'm not going to go anywhere. I love you all. And I love what I do here. And I'm pretty sure this world is going to give us plenty of material and plenty of to put in the arsenal here to talk about as we move forward. So with that being said, this finale is going to be cool. I've always wanted to have a best of Stay in the Great podcast. And so we're going to bring that to you today. And I'm going to give you a little bit of everything. That's kind of the goal. If somebody says, what's Stay in the Great podcast all about? This will be it. We're getting a little bit of comedy, a little bit of serious discussion, a little bit of me lecturing about topics that I feel are important to the world, but most important to our country, especially with the last year we've had, some of the transitions that are happening and some of the wild friction and disagreement in this country. You have to talk about it. So there's some of that. There's some guests. There's a good variety of guests that I've picked out to give you a clip of what we try and do there. So I'll go ahead and intro these as we go along, and I hope you enjoy, and I hope it really kind of lets you go, hey, this is these Ryan and Trey and all these, everybody involved with the show. And there are multiple people involved with the show. We work hard, and I hope that is shown, that is displayed in what you're seeing and listening to. So that being said, let's go right in. Welcome to Stay in the Great podcast. We explore news that gets people talking by blending comedy and controversy.
Brutal banner, fierce word, shadow streets unheard.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Trey. Together we dive into tough topics with a combination of humor and some insight.
So join us as we navigate the gray areas of the world and engaging in real conversation.
Come get to know us.
This is recent. A couple of these are going to be recent because I don't want you to think that I'm not proud of the current show and the way that it's headed. This was not long ago. This was January the 14th of this year, so about a month ago, when the wildfires had jumped out in Los Angeles, and no one knows why the leadership was so poor. No one knows why the water wasn't there. There were so many questions to be asked about the response to these fires. And I gave my thoughts. Basically, I talked about the looting involved, and I talked about the leadership involved in this segment right here. So I hope you enjoy. And of course, there's looting. That I'm reading more and more stories about arrests being made. There's one person that robbed a house, and he was sitting there on the curb with the firefighters dressed like them after he had robbed the house or before. And these poor firefighters are working their tails off and risking their lives, and this guy's kind of sneaking in trying to pretend. What a scumbag! Anybody that does the looting is worthless. not only are you not contributing to society, you're making it worse. And these people, I think, need harsher punishments. This is a horrible time right now, and you're going to go in there and try and worthless. And I said it. I don't care what your situation is. You don't do that. All right, let's talk about the main thing that everyone seems to be talking about, the leadership issues. And that part of that is politicizing this thing. And, Donald Trump has said some things, and now the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, had said some things, and the mayor has said some things. And they're all, pointing fingers at the different sides. So Governor Newsom, who anybody who's listening to the show understands that I'm not a fan of that man, and I don't think a lot of people are. Apparently 93% of Americans think he should resign. I'm not alone. I'm going to get the 7% of you that think he's good and yelling at me. I can take it, trust me. But he's saying that Trump's the one politicizing this, and it's kind of like and it was like in response to a question about his state in this situation and what's he going to do. So just get over it. Don't bring up Donald. Just don't bring him up, Gavin. Donald's not politicizing. He's questioning your leadership, as am I, and as are a lot of people. So do not sit here and immediately try and go on defense, which is what he's doing. And usually that means guilt. There's no excuse for this, what we're about to talk about. So it's become a clusterfuck. And, so I'll start with there's so many. I'll start with the DEI, okay? DEI hires. Diversity and Equality and Inclusion. Is that it? Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion. I think that's it. But these hires are being made. Look, I'm going to get this right. The DEI hires. Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion. I think that's right. Yell at me if it's not. But all these publications are now saying it's the right wing that's got this, that has this opinion. I disagree. I think a lot of people have this opinion now. I don't think you can avoid it. What I mean by that is prioritizing DEI hires over qualified hires, especially in something like firefighting, is not good. And we're seeing that. Let me go ahead and explain. Let me give you the details. I was going to talk about why it's so hard to discuss and all these things, but I want to give you the details first. The example of this is the fire chief. Her name is Kristen Rowley. She's had some issues recently with these fires, okay? Everyone's on her, everyone's on the mayor, all these things. But she's the first lesbian chief named fire chief that was named back in 2022. And if you go to the website for the department, priorities for the fire department are a culture that, this is quote, unquote, on the webpage profile, a culture that values diversity, inclusion, and equality. I think I just did all the letters there. Maybe your priority should be fighting fires, number one. Make this a long number two away from number one, which is helping people in fighting fires. This is not good. She launched a DEI bureau in early 2023 and emphasized reshaping the fire department culture by implementing DEI hiring and promotion goals. One goal is to increase women who identify as lesbian or LGBT, all of it, any of the letters, to increase those numbers within the fire department. It's important. Not how muscular you are, how physically fit you are, how well you can fight fires, and how qualified you are. But by God, if you're a woman who likes other women or identifies as another woman or whatever else, you're qualified over these other people. It's unnerving to me to read that. But she said, somebody asked her, what kind of numbers are you looking at to increase it by? And she's like, there's not a number. I'm looking for as many as possible. It's never big enough of a number. I think some people would disagree with that right about now. But that gets back to my point. Why are we afraid to call this out, and why are people, I mean, I know the answer. It's politics. I know the reason that people on one side, mostly, I'm not going to be a hypocrite in what I said. I think there are plenty of people that it's not just right wingers, if you want to call them. I'm not a right winger. I've said it before, I'm an independent who right now in the way this country is run leans towards the right, if you want to call it, if you want to divide it. I lean that way. If you want to go case by case like I like to do, I'll tell you case by case how I feel. But when it comes to elections and voting and leadership right now, I'm over there. No matter how crazy some of those people might be. So we have to talk about this. People need to understand that DEI, there's a difference between making sure that we're helping to advance our DEI targets and just tossing them into positions over other people because of the color of their skin or because of their ethnicity and or their sexual preferences. There's a difference. There's a gray area. I stay in the gray. Look what happened. This fire department is fucking whacked. They are all over the place and they are getting torched, no pun intended. All right. I'm really excited for you guys to go back to this one that I'm about to play you now. This is from season 2. This is episode 9 of season 2, 2-9. And this was back October the 2nd of 2023. So we hadn't been around that long, season 2, obviously. But I'm so excited because one of the favorite shows I did, we did, Trey was there, was interviewing one of our very close friends, one of my best friends since high school, Tim, who is an airline pilot. And anybody that knows me knows that I have a tough time flying sometimes. And so I was ready to really get him in the seat and just drill him on, stories about flying and even how the plane gets up. I mean, even though I've been told, I wanted to hear again. I wanted to hear about his close calls, anything that made him freak out while he was flying a plane, and much, much more. Hookups between flight attendants and pilots. There's the whole process. And you'll enjoy that episode. We had fun. Remember that he's a close friend of ours. So what you're going to see now is probably one of the most hilarious moments that I've had on this show because we are close to him and because he's a good sport. I had mentioned that I had seen duct tape on the wing of the plane, and I asked him about that, and hilarity ensued. So I hope you enjoy this clip and that you laugh like we did. So enjoy. Tim, one time I looked out on the wing and there was duct tape.
It's not duct tape, first of all.
Look,
I've seen this on like TikTok and shit. It's not duct tape.
It's Scotch tape.
I know what I know what duct tape looks like, Tim. I don't have to be a pilot.
It's not duct tape. It's called speed tape.
It's that frog tape that way when they paint it, there's no little paint creases in there.
Anything with tape on a wing doesn't make me feel comfortable. Can you explain that? Can you explain that to me?
Fuck me.
Little popsicle sticks and stuff in there?
Yeah. Why is there tape on the wing, Tim?
Okay. So,
any kind of tape.
Scotch tape.
Go ahead.
Did you say scotch tape?
Scotch tape. It's not duct tape.
Okay.
All you TikTokers and all you people out there who post videos of the airplane having duct tape on it.
Is that happening a lot?
Have you not seen it?
No.
It's like all over the place.
No, this happened to me personally, Tim.
So it's speed tape. It's there because there was
a crack in the wing.
No, there's no crack. It's something that like
not yet, but it's getting there.
It's starting.
I'm not
get there.
All right. I'll let you finish.
Listen,
okay, I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
I'm not a mechanic. Okay,
I'll let
so
you finish.
This is my knowledge. This is very surface. Okay, but
that's where the duct tape is. Yeah, that's on the surface.
Let's move on.
Shut up, Tim.
Sorry,
Trey, shut up, Tim.
Man, I'm
sorry.
No, it's just it's there to cover something that's not broken. It's not broken. There's nothing wrong with the airplane. It's just there to
crack.
like if they did.
Okay, Trey. I actually want to know this answer.
I'm sorry.
So
I'll shut up.
What would be something that would be covered?
So, for example, I'll give you an example because this I know this for a fact because I had this happen to me.
Graffiti or. All right. I'm so sorry. I really do want to know. I really do.
No, you don't.
Have you had this question? You said.
Have I had this question?
People have asked you this. You said.
I've heard people make comments about duct tape on the airplane. Yeah.
All right. Why is it's called speed tape?
It's called speed tape.
Okay.
It's actually metallic.
Okay. So what's it covering?
It's covering repairs that may have been made. Right. Nothing bad. I'm talking like. Okay, listen. I had to have a windshield replaced. Right. They replaced the windscreen. They do all the glue. It's just, I'm not. Here's
There's glue.
Here's.
It's monkey glue, dude. Come on. No, Gorilla Glue.
Gorilla. I'm ready to get on a plane.
I hate you both. I hate you both.
It's used to cover something with the glue.
I've learned so
Oh
much.
my gosh. Hey, I preface this by saying I'm not a mechanic. Like, I'm trying to just give you just my surface knowledge. But it's not duct tape, and it's not holding anything together. It's there to protect something underneath it, okay?
Oh my
That's all it's there for. Oh my gosh. I can't.
I've learned so much tonight that if the wing is about to break, Gorilla Glue and duct tape.
And speed tape.
I'm sorry, speed tape. Speed tape.
Holy shit.
Y'all suck.
No, Tim,
You guys suck.
I
Tim,
love
come
the
on.
explanation.
It's covering something.
Why? Why didn't you give me some heads up on the question so I could have done some research on it?
Shit.
Because of this exact moment. Do you know when people?
Speed tape.
Do you know when?
Oh my god.
Do you know when you watch the outtakes of a movie and everyone just can't stop laughing, and that's funnier than the movie? I'm hoping this is the case, and people
my
are
God.
just getting a kick out of this because
My throat hurts.
this is the most this is the most we've laughed in 41 episodes.
Glad I can be your comic relief.
No, it's
Thank
not.
you.
No, it's not. But I mean, you can see how we would.
No, it's funny. No, it's funny. I know. And I'm like,
I mean,
like I don't even know what to say.
no, but you should. You admitted that. But that's the point. Is that if any pilot looks at me and says, "Oh, that there's glue or tape."
Well, it's just like your
There to
car
cover
windshield.
something.
Like, what do you think they attach it with? It's not. There's no. You can't put a
My
bolt.
car-
you can't put a bolt through glass.
my car is in 35,000 feet in the air.
Dude,
with
this
the
stuff
pressure.
It's all like it's all been. It's
It's the same. All right,
it's
we can
speed
go
tape.
fly. then.
So is this tape only used for aircrafts and shit like that? Like you can't go to the hardware store and just go get this kind of tape. I'm
not
assuming.
that I know of.
Okay.
I've never
So this-
seen it at the hardware store.
So this is just like space shuttles and
Yeah, man, this is all like aircraft approved stuff.
I'm gonna see it at Home Depot. Oh fuck yeah, speed tape. Let's
tape.
get this shit.
Let's get it.
This must be
but
powerful.
it's not for broken shit. You got to put the Gorilla Glue on for
Not,
that.
man.
You have to cover up the graffiti and then use Gorilla Glue for that.
Shit.
Tim, we love you. I mean, look. In all seriousness, I absolutely
Nobody's ever coming on our show again.
No, I absolutely. And again, I will say in all seriousness, dude, I would completely 100% respect what you do. All right, I hope you found that funny. Tim's a good sport, and I think that. Again, that was just what a fun night, and there was so much more to that. So definitely check out that episode. Next is going to be back to recently with yours truly behind the mic by himself. I wanted to change it up a little bit, and everybody involved in this show thought, let's do something that took a break from all these, just all the conflict that's. Everybody's so just ready to pounce on everything. Excuse me. So we decided let's do a topic that's fun. And so we chose love. We chose dating. And by doing that, we said, well, let's talk about the timeline. Let's talk about the history of love and dating and how unique it is, not only with different cultures, but different time periods. And so we went back to medieval time, ancient Mesopotamia, and what they used to do when they courted people, if they courted people. The calling cards, all the different, into where middle school for me was, anxiety until you ask the girl to the dance, those types of fun stories. And in my nature, I decided to share some first date disaster stories. And that's what you're going to hear here. And I think they're pretty enjoyable. They're hilarious. And my personal story, I'll give you as well in this clip. But it might not be as funny as the two that I read about. But dating brings on, you just gotta laugh sometimes if things don't go well, and I think that's what these people had to do. So enjoy these stories, take a break from the serious, and have some fun here, and go from there. And hope all of you have found or will find love soon. I'm gonna end it on a light note, and what I mean by that is there are always these crazy stories about first dates. and they're so funny and they're fascinating. I've got two of them for you, and then I've got one of my own that's very quick. But I don't have a lot of these types from dates. They just didn't go crazy. There were some that just didn't go well, or some that went well and nobody called the other person. Some of that, but nothing that was really crazy. So let me tell you, this one was really funny. They're not long at all. We went to see Avengers: Infinity War, in case you want to know which Avengers, on the first and only date. Go right to the end. This is the only date. Everything was all right, and I was excited because I'm a big Marvel fan. Until the whole Spider-Man and Iron Man's arms scene. Now, I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but it sounds like Spider-Man was not doing well, maybe. I don't think they were lovers in this case, but I don't think Spider-Man's doing well. And she said she started crying because she's a fangirl, and he's her favorite character. My date didn't know what to do. He thought something was wrong and that I wasn't okay or I wasn't enjoying the movie. He also had limited English, so it was hard to explain why I was crying. The rest of the date was super awkward, as he didn't know what the hell was going on. Might have something to do with the language barrier. Although my grandparents, they would have been fine at this Marvel movie. Then he moved back to where he was originally from, and we never went on another date. So, don't cry in Marvel movies, ladies. You know what? Don't cry in Marvel movies if you're on a date with somebody who doesn't speak English, because you need to be able to explain that shit. It seems pretty simple to me. The other one here is also pretty funny. I was on a great first date with a guy. We went to a bar during the day and ordered lunch and a beer each. After many hours of conversation, I thought, wow, this is so great. We walk outside, and he had parked far away, so I offered to drive him to his car. He promptly gets in the car, lowers his pants, and starts jerking off. I screamed at him to get out, and that was the end of it. Guys, wait till you know she's okay with you pulling your cock out before you start jerking off, especially in public and especially in her vehicle. Man, it sounds like this was going really well until you pulled the penis out. Let's use your head, gentlemen. Most of these stories are about some idiot guy. I need a story about some idiot girl, although crying at that scene was pretty stupid. Anyway, my story is very quick. I went out with this girl, and she's just a different, and I was probably 28, my late 20s, and she was just a whole different ball game from what I was used to. She was from a very small town. She, here in Texas, she didn't care about sports. She didn't care about music. She didn't care about anything, really, maybe except for her line of work, which was fashion, and which ends up being kind of ironic because I wouldn't see her as a fashion girl. The whole night. You listen to me this far in only this show, you already know. But if you've listened to this show before, you know I can talk. You're not going to have any problem at the dinner table talking to me. But man, she made me work. Every question was a one word. Yeah? No, I didn't do that. Okay. Right. I agree. It was all of those. It was those responses. And I'm just like, okay. I mean, some of them were like, well, what did you do for college? Da-da-da. Would you like to tell me any more about your college life? I mean, it was unbelievable. At the end of the night, I was like, she hates me. Like, what did I do? Maybe the shirt isn't working. And we got to the car, for her to go home. And she just embraced me and like gave me a huge kiss. She's like, I really like you. I was so surprised. And I'm sitting there going, because number one, I did not really like her. She didn't talk. Maybe it was first day jitters, but oh my God. So I was surprised. Turns out she texted me as soon as she got back home, and she said, all I want in life is to live in a small town in a double wide trailer, and I'm worried that you don't want that. Oh man, I don't want that. I'm sorry, young lady. I did not want that. And I said straight up, I'm like, if that's what you really want and that's a deal breaker for you, I don't think this is going to work. So that's about the extent of it for my kind of weird date. It was just weird. She liked me even though there was it was just crazy. There's no chemistry. There's no nothing. She didn't want to talk to me, but then she really liked me. I don't know. And she didn't want to stay. I mean, it wasn't like she just wanted to have a night. So anyway, that's my story. There it is. Dating in a nutshell. It's just a topic that's fun. All right, so here's the one that I wouldn't say I'm most excited about sharing with you. I think it's the one that I'm most proud to share with you. Trey and I and the show as a whole worked very hard to grow. We're still doing that. But to be able to connect with an organization, and by doing such, the president of that organization, was really neat. And that organization is PETA. Trey and I are by no means vegan. We are by no means in support of everything that PETA stands for. We don't want animals to suffer. I mean, in that regard, we align with PETA. But we also enjoy steaks and hamburgers. I mean, it's just, point of this show is to listen to each other. The point of this show is that we all talk. That even if you disagree with somebody, that you're willing to listen to them. And in this case, we were willing to listen to the president of PETA, Ingrid Newkirk, decided to stop on by the show. And when I say that, she ended up doing a Zoom call with us because her Dallas trip got postponed. And she was nice enough to continue or to hold on to her commitment to the show. So we did a Zoom call for the first time with a guest. And I'm going to give you a little bit. I'll give you the beginning of the call. You can kind of see the nerves on our end as a show and as a growing show, and how to have somebody of her stature on the show was really cool. And she has quite the history. Her protests involving animals, the interaction with the cops, with authorities, with her being naked for all these things was fascinating to hear. And so we talk a little bit about her story, her first story about breaking into a lab and finding out what they did to these monkeys, and in Maryland, I believe. And then we talk about her hanging naked on a hook next to dead pigs. You don't want to miss it. She is a fascinating woman, and we were most appreciative for her coming on the show. So enjoy Ingrid Newkirk. Go back and check that one out. That was on, May the 30th of 2024, and it was episode 314. So enjoy a little bit of that. Okay, well, we're so excited to have Ingrid Newkirk here with us today. I'm going to dive right in, if you don't mind. Ingrid Newkirk, for those of you that don't know, is the founder and president of PETA. Again, if you haven't heard of PETA, I don't know where you're living. It is People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Why did you decide to come on our show?
I had nothing better to do this afternoon.
I love it.
No. You were our media department got in touch with you because you may have said something naughty. I don't know what you did, but they got in touch with you over food, I think, and perhaps you hadn't tried vegan food. And they decide everybody must try vegan food. So they were determined. And then I was coming to Dallas. That got postponed. And I thought I didn't want to leave you high and dry, wondering who else to shove on the show. So I thought we should do it by Zoom if you were okay with it.
Well, we really appreciate it. We're excited because I tell people and people that have asked, if you know us and you've listened to the show, we're not anti-PETA by any means. We just question some of, like, you've had to probably deal with most of your time there. And so what I thought was that it's a good opportunity to reach our listeners who are kind of all over the place, and you've already got your following. You don't need to reach them. And so I'm excited because a lot of our listeners have questions and they're just like, ask this. And so, that the story that got Nicole, if I can say her name, in touch with us was about a macaw monkey that took a selfie.
Oh,
we thought that case was interesting, and we mentioned it, of course, in a humorous way. And I tell you what, either a hashtag or something worked, and she reached right out and explained it, and I respected that completely. So that's how that came on. What I read was that your first, and correct me if I'm wrong, notable case in 1981 had to also do with the macaw monkey. Is that right? The experimental?
The Silver Spring monkeys?
The Silver Spring.
Indeed. Yeah, in Silver Spring, Maryland. Yes, we went into that laboratory not knowing what was there and found 17 monkeys kept in these tiny cages with broken wires, rust. They had had their spines opened up by a psychologist with no medical training, no veterinary training.
Wow.
And that had rendered some of their arms pretty useless or totally useless, one or two arms. And the place was just filthy a mess. You could smell it before you got to it. We found barrels of dead monkeys, actually, in the garage. They had died of gangrene because they hadn't been treated for their wounds, and they would catch their fingers on the wire and tear them off because they didn't have proper feeling in them. So all sorts of things like that. And we busted them. We took the police in and we brought criminal charges against the psychologists and removed all the monkeys.
Trey was fascinated by the fact that he read somewhere that you liked, or not liked, but you got naked a lot for these for these types of protests, types of you're trying to get through to people. And the one that got me, of course, and it's on PETA, it's on the site, people see it, but for people that don't go look, you hung yourself on a hook, correct, next to some dead pigs, naked. Can you, I mean, and I guess people can try and figure it out, but the naked part, can you explain why that's key to that? I mean, sometimes it must be cold.
Yes. Yes, it wasn't particularly cold that day.
That day,
but
okay.
Now you're going to lose more viewers when they look at me and they think, oh God, she's 75 and she's hanging naked or something.
No.
But, a lot, well, you know, back in the day, I mean, sex sells. And if you tell people something is going to be done naked, everybody goes to have a look. So we use gimmickry, we use nudity, we use sex, we use humor, we use whatever we can think of to get people to have a look or a listen. And so we started the I'd rather go naked than wear fur campaign 44 years ago. And now, of course, nobody really wears fur. Back then, little girls wanted a fur when they grew up. That was the big thing. So that campaign had Kim Basinger and Pam Anderson and all these people who people wanted to have a look. But
yeah, I think we're interested in this campaign now.
well, a lot of times they weren't actually naked, of course. They had a strategically placed banner or something, a lettuce bikini. But
we're okay with that too.
I'm Googling it right now.
Well, now we'll go away from sex, just to nudity. Is that, I don't know, some years ago, a few years ago, 8 years ago, something, the Times of London, I think it was doing a feature on me. I was in London because we have an office there. And the antagonistic writer of this piece said to me, well, you've been naked so many times. Why don't we take a photograph of you standing naked on the desk in your office? And I said, it doesn't work that way. I don't just take my clothes off for the hell of it. There has to be a point. So if you want the naked picture, let's go down to Smithfield Market, where all these pigs are slaughtered, and I will hang with the pigs on a meat hook. And so that's how that picture came about. And all these butchers heard that somebody was going to be hanging with the dead pigs, with the pig bodies, decapitated. And even decapitated, they're about the same size as me. Their skin was the same color as mine. You know, they had 2 arms and 2 legs hanging there. And all these butchers came to have a look because they thought it was very exciting. And then they saw it was me, and they were incredibly disappointed. But I hope I made a point.
Okay. I hope you like that. She was great. So, again, we're not PETA supporters. I mean, we have fancy T-shirts that they sent us, and they sent us lunch, and they did all these great things. But you got to listen to other people's views, and it was very interesting, to say the least. Let's bring it back close again in time. This was very recent. This was episode 426, And this was January the 17th, so not even a month ago. And this was involving the ceasefire in Gaza, another one of the serious topics. We have to talk about these things because they're important. This is what people are focused on right now, are these issues that surround us, that surround the United States. Well, the United States has gotten involved in many ways overseas. It just always has. This is no different. When the ceasefire was announced in Gaza between Israel and the Palestinians, Hamas, there was an immediate rush between former President Joe Biden and current President Donald Trump as to who got this peace treaty negotiated, and it became politicized. So I talk a lot about that, but I also talk about the perspective of different areas in the world, the perspective of different publications. I took an opportunity to talk about multiple publications from across the world and how they viewed the ceasefire and how they viewed the United States' involvement in it. You know, are we the only ones that, we're probably the only ones that truly care about who ushered the peace treaty in. I keep saying peace treaty, it's the ceasefire. We all know now it was Donald Trump, but why was that so important? Why was it so important to me? So enjoy this clip. The Al Jazeera perspective is what I talk about on this. And again, it's an episode you don't want to miss. So enjoy this one. So let's talk. I immediately went to Al Jazeera. Why not? This is the region, Arab countries. Those are the countries that are oftentimes overlooked by the United States when it comes to their perspective. At least that's what a lot of people are claiming. I'm not sure I'm on board with that fully. We have allowed people to stand on our soil and scream about killing Americans, the infidels. They're doing it right now, all over the country. And the Palestinian issue and the Israel issue in Gaza has forced that. But it's very uncomfortable, I'll use that word again, for Americans to sit here and go, this is happening at our universities. This is happening in our town squares, down in the city. This is, and they want to kill us. That's what they're chanting. They ripped down our American flag and hung a Palestinian flag. Are you kidding me? We're not going to go back to that, but this is not okay. So I decided, the bottom line was to go to Al Jazeera first and foremost. They usually are pretty neutral. They try not to go one direction on this. Unfortunately, they kind of did on this one, and I was disappointed, but at the same time, I understood. This is an Arab publication overall, and you're probably going to focus on those people more so than not. But let me tell you, their approach was U.S. pressure as a whole. So they weren't describing Trump or Biden in the pressure. So there's still, like I said, there's a heavy bias towards the Palestinians. The big consensus, and it ended up being on both sides, but the first was that immediately all the Palestinians are like, this is so great, but they're not going to follow through. Israel's this is just temporary. I just hope I can get home before they go back on their word. I get it, but I'm just giving you what they're saying. The testimonials were only Palestinians who had negative things to say, of course, about Israelis. And it was just, and rightfully so, it was a bunch of stories about a bunch of testimonials about how horrible it is, how this has been torture, how they hope to find family, how they hope to go back to a home that's not completely destroyed. All of those types of stories about their time in Gaza and during this conflict. And then there are Palestinian groups who are calling for this accountability from Israel. They want Israel to stand up and say, we're the asshole here. It's all on us. And I don't think you're going to get that. Let's just start with the ceasefire. But to sit here, it's almost like you're saying, we're not okay. We're not going to accept this fully unless you do this. No, we don't need to do that. Why? Just have the ceasefire. Later down the road, if you're talking to somebody, you can say, hey, how about some accountability? But that is not a good idea right now. Let's just stop the friction. Just do it. Get it done. My goodness. Okay, I could not do a best of to represent this show without having this guest on. And it was very difficult to choose which clip of this guest because he was on the show 3 times. The first time was when we were audio only, and he had a friend of his, Meg, and we were trying to branch out a little bit and talk to people that weren't like us, people that were going to have different perspectives for different reasons. And boy, I tell you what, Antoine, you covered a lot of those different perspectives. Antoine is, I think he's 23 now, but he's 22 when he came on the show. He's a Gen Zer, so we kind of went back and forth with him about that. And he happens to be a black man and a gay man. And he was such a great sport. He understood that, you know, the white boys like me and Trey wanted to come on, wanted to have somebody on to really add credibility to what we were talking about. I want to know what other people think. I want to know how they feel. It's impossible to put myself 100% into somebody's position. Now, that doesn't mean I can't have opinions, and that's what I share with Antoine. We have our opinions. How do you feel about this so that I can have at least somewhat of an idea, the mindset that's out there from people who experience these things? And that's a long way of putting it. But that's why this was so important to us. And I chose a clip where we discuss Blazing Saddles. And if anybody hasn't seen that, go look it up, because I don't want to take too much time to explain it. It's a movie in the 80s, and it had a racial undertone to it, but that was the norm. It was made into a comedy, like slapstick comedy by director Mel Brooks. Antoine was not familiar with it, so we explained it to him and asked him how he would receive it. In addition, we talked about Quentin Tarantino films and the racial undertones there. What I loved about Antoine is that he was honest, but he had no hesitation. He wasn't sitting there like, why are you guys talking to me about this? So there's plenty of other things to talk about. And don't think he didn't. He talked about his own conspiracy theories. He talked about just all sorts of things. And we really enjoyed having him on. But this clip shows you an example of how here at the show, we really want to listen to all involved and every ethnicity, anybody's sexual identity, anybody's preference, anybody's whatever. We want to listen to it all so that we understand. So check out Antoine, and hopefully we'll have him back sometime in the near future. Blazing Saddles is a movie, and it's got a lot of racial stuff in it.
Yeah.
And this is early 80s. And what he did, and he's not Tarantino, because Tarantino's crazy, and he's
Quentin Tarantino should be investigated.
okay. Well, I want to ask you about him too. We can tie these together.
Yeah.
Because his films obviously are very pro, let's stand up to racism that had happened in the past and slavery. He did a couple movies about that. Well, Mel Brooks did it a different way. He did it and made it comedy.
Yeah.
So he had a sheriff back in the day in this old west town that was black. Mm-hmm. And it was this huge, black sheriff. Everyone's like, what? And there were a few things that were, racial, and the N-word was kind of thrown around. But nobody got mad about it when it was out, because everybody knew Mel Brooks. It was just in jest. And so with a movie like that, do you think you could watch it being a Gen Zer?
Oh, no.
Yeah, it'd be frustrating, right? No, I want to know. That's
yeah.
what I want. Yep.
Well, because back then, I don't know. I think when it comes to certain things,
Trey and I were 3
you
when
have
this
to
came out.
play the game. I know you were 10 when it came out. Don't lie.
Shut that mic's going right off, Trey.
Turn it off.
No, but it's I think that in the 80s, I wasn't alive. I have no idea. I was about 20 years unthought of back then.
We know, Antoine. We're aware of how
young and hot.
How young and strapping you are, yeah.
No, but if the N-word's being thrown around, what's a black person going to do? Complain about it? In the 80s,
right.
It's the 80s. They don't really have any.
Okay, so that's your point, was that nobody would say.
We have the capital, the social capital to be like, please don't be racist, and that reminds me of Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't know that he directed Django. I had no idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I'd seen Pulp Fiction.
What did you think of? Well, what do you think of Pulp Fiction?
And
there
I was
plenty in that.
That was so unnecessarily racist for no reason.
Okay,
that
so you were
nothing to my plot.
Okay, so that you weren't able to get by it. It bothered you. You can, be honest.
That movie, the entire movie bothered me, and I was like that. So that was my view of him until I saw.
Do you remember the scene in Pulp Fiction
where they raped the police officer?
Well, that too.
But he just kept saying that Quentin
Right.
kept saying the N-word. I'm like, why? Why
But the scene was at the end when he was talking about they were trying to get rid of the body.
oh yeah.
He said dead end storage.
Yeah.
Does that look like? Do I have a sign out front that says that?
Yeah.
And it was you're laughing, but it was so wrong. But Tarantino, for some reason, always got a pass. What do you think? Nowadays, not so much.
Well, I think that like socially, same as back then, I would say black people didn't have the true social capital to like be like, that was actually so racist and wrong.
Right.
Until about, I'm going to say until,
I have a number. I have a year in mind. I'm going to hear what yours is.
oh, I'm thinking just like 2012,
Oh, okay. Mine was a little earlier.
2008. I was not. Gonna say
I'm
'cause
going.
of Obama was white.
I do increments of 5. Antoine.
okay.
2007 and a half, like 4 months. No, I was
October
2005 ish.
Okay.
I was doing almost 20 years ago from now.
Yeah. Well, I just like
So yeah,
from, like, what
2003.
I, like,
let's just say.
yeah, just like what I've like, seen and like witnessed and like, I'm just like, yeah. And so even like the late 90s, early 2000s, I'm like, that was still wrong, but he gets a pass because it's just like,
It's
okay,
Tarantino. I mean, seriously, no one comes down on him.
But I don't know. I still have not seen Django, and I'm planning on watching it. To be
Oh,
honest.
you haven't seen it.
No.
What are you? Are you kind of fighting yourself on it? Like you want to watch it, but
Why would I want to watch Slavery?
because it ends up being a victory for.
Well,
Don't spoil it.
No, I mean, I think that's known,
Well,
right?
I mean, yeah, I didn't know that, to be honest.
Well, no, but I mean, he
Yeah.
wrote it. Tarantino is the anti-racist. That's what he does. Is so he makes a movie that where the plot is completely racist, but then at the way it twists out of that plot, it you go, oh fuck yeah,
I see.
like they've come out on top,
Yeah.
and he does that on lots of stuff, even if it's not just race.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I didn't really know that.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I
won't go
saw,
too much into that.
What's it called? What are my new favorite movie? Kill Bill. Oh my god.
You liked Kill Bill? Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I like Tarantino
And
stuff.
that
He's got
one,
some stuff.
Kill
yeah.
Bill was so like, I mean, aside from like,
Did you watch just the first one, or did you watch both?
I've seen the whole
Yeah,
series.
yeah, that's
I've
good.
seen Kill Bill.
Have you seen those, Trey?
Nope.
Yeah, you
So
should check
good.
them out.
It changed my life. I was like, wow.
Uma
Thurman,
Thurman.
She really ate that up. She really was,
Yeah.
But so in that one, he wasn't problematic at all. Well,
Right.
okay, it was kind of sexist, and there was like some like there was rape in there.
He went from racism to sexism. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right, I chose this next one because it was very important to me. And of course, I got about the response that I expected. I got a lot of people that understood what I was trying to say, and a lot of people that appreciated what I was trying to say. And of course, you get the people that don't want to listen. They don't want to hear it. They came on the comments and said, "How dare you?" Of course, you easy to say, white boy sitting in his chair. And they didn't listen. If they did, they wouldn't have approached it that way. And this was a Thanksgiving special that I did a few months ago. If you want the date, it was episode 414 on November 26, 2024. So this last Thanksgiving. And what I really wanted to do in this episode is discuss the truths and the misconceptions about the Native Americans and white European settlers, and the tension that was involved there, and the attempted coexistence. The main point of the episode was to talk about how this was over 700 years of time. This was not bad European settlers come in, and 2 years later they have intentionally slaughtered every native that is here and laughed about it. This was coexistence attempted for over 700 years. I repeat it because it's important. It's not as simple as big white man bad. Oh, poor natives. They were never at fault. They were not violent at all. They didn't get hooked on, addicted to alcohol and get more weapons from the settlers so that they could slaughter each other. There's more to it than that. And no means am I saying that everybody on either side is innocent or guilty. That's the point. It's the perfect topic and example of staying in the gray. All that situation is one big gray area. And I felt it was needed to be, that it needed to be discussed. And so I did on this episode. I tell you what, if you're interested in a different perspective, using your brain a little bit and not just rolling with the narrative that's been spread, which is white man bad, Europeans bad, and the poor Native American Indians were good fully, then check this show out. I think you'll find it interesting, and write me. Go back in there and comment on any of the social media. Send me a direct message. I'm so fascinated by this that I'll talk to anybody. So that being said, this part of it was mostly because I got frustrated about the disrespect that people show to Mount Rushmore. The Native Americans who now in 2025 apparently are very frustrated about this and have gone back and flip off Mount Rushmore. It basically sparked this show. So check it out and let me know what you think. In honor of Thanksgiving, I do want to talk about, why do we have Thanksgiving? First off, everybody knows, and it stemmed back to some of the storybook tales of the Pilgrims and the Indians, who shouldn't be called Indians. They should be called Native Americans, or Native American Indians, I guess, if you will, because Columbus fucked up and thought he was in India. They became Indians. So let's talk about that. Every image you see for Thanksgiving, and not every image, but many of them are this whole, here are the Native Americans handing corn. Here are the Pilgrims giving whatever the fuck they're giving. And sitting down at a table together, eating. What are you thankful for? We're going to coexist. Let's work together. Well, if you bring it to reality, I believe that was the intent. I believe there was an intent to coexist. I do believe that the Native Americans were like, we've been here for a while. This is kind of just disruptive, and we're not happy about it. But this land is vast. Because you were a nomadic people, how about we share? I don't know. I still believe in, I know for a fact that human beings have been a exploration and conquer type species since we've known. That's all that's ever happened. This was not a first time situation. It's happened all over the world. Doesn't justify it, but it's the way it is. It's not unusual. That's why people got so mad at me for giving Elon Musk's quote about slavery. Everybody's ancestors have been slaves at some point, some percentage of your blood. It just depends on how far you want to go back and where. People got so upset about that comment. But it's true. You don't like it, but it's true. That doesn't take away from what this country did and how it affects how it affected people to a certain point in our own country. And I agree with that. And so I'm not downplaying the slavery in this country. But if you want to talk about it as a whole, you have to include everybody, especially these people that want to be globalists. They don't want to be globalists when it's about the bad stuff about the United States. So let's talk about it. What got me thinking about this and what got me so frustrated is you go on social media, which is that tends to be the spark of all my frustration in life. And you see these pages and these people's accounts that are devoted to Native Americans, whether it's a tribe or a territory or a land. That's what these pages are. And so what you'll see are just complete, pro, and that's fine, pro Native, pro this, it was our land, little cartoons about, we should have built the wall here. It's, whatever, fine. If it makes you feel better, great. It's stupid, but if it makes you feel better, great. But what gets me is when you proudly post a picture of young girls sometimes these girls are teenagers, sitting in front of Mount Rushmore, flipping it off like it's some sort of powerful gesture. One of them had a picture of 4 Native Americans and said, these are the real founding fathers. Well, no, they are not. This was not the United States. This was a bunch of land that was taken over, or that was primarily people that were living on this land didn't really have borders. They didn't have any kind of established government. They had their own, their own type of whatever, but nothing was killing each other. That's a fact. A lot of the issues which I'll talk about in a second, with European weapons was that Indians were so excited to upgrade their weaponry so that they could kill the other Indians. And no one wants to talk about these things. And we'll get there. Let's, I had the guys put up pictures of these classy people flipping off Mount Rushmore also. And I'm not sure if they're still up there, but if they are, you see what I'm talking about. And what is that going to do? What does it do? Does it make somebody like myself go, oh, wow, yeah, these poor people, by the way, who had nothing to do with this at all, not even close. And that's a great segue. All right, last one of the best of Stay in the Gray podcast. This one here, I had to include this guest. There are many other guests that we had that and I hope none of them feel shafted that I didn't include them. They were all amazing. But what I want to do is show the diversity on the show. And what that means is that now, to end this, I'm going to show you a clip of one of our most recent guests, I would say. It was September of 2024, in episode 4.1. So she led off season 4, and I'm going to have her end season 4. And this is Alena. She is Russian-born. The title of the show is From Russia to the United States. And she came here to attend college and get a master's degree, I believe, from Russia. So she spent her whole life growing up over there. And I tell you what, I wanted to, did I have questions about what it was like to grow up in Russia? Everybody in the United States has always had this kind of eerie hesitation when it comes to Russian people and how they live, when it comes to their leadership, especially now with Vladimir Putin. But it was great to have somebody here who was Russian, who had friends and family in Russia, in Ukraine, and to have her talk about the war, and to have her talk about Vladimir Putin and Trump and the election and how she feels, what was it like to adjust to the culture here versus Russia. I mean, we talked about so many. She's now focused on health and wellness. She's doing these, I called them crazy, wild procedures to help people look good and feel good. And she's working really hard at that. She's traveling the world doing it. And so she's a great guest. We plan to do some collaboration as we move forward. And I can't wait to have her back. She's just been so busy. So hopefully we get her on soon and we start kind of advertising for her products and her services. And she'll be a great partner in that regard. So enjoy this. We give her a little bit of a hard time throughout. So go check the show out. We even put up a big picture of Rocky IV on my screensaver just for her. And of course she hadn't seen it. So it was kind of a moot point. I tried to buy a Russian vodka. We had a good time. But we also dug deep into the Russian culture and the American culture and somebody who's truly lived both. It wasn't like she came here when she was 3. She lived both, and she's able to dive into that. And we enjoyed it thoroughly. So hope you enjoy it thoroughly. And hopefully, same as Antoine, I hope we have her back really soon as well. Alina, I'm fascinated by just the fact alone that you were from the Soviet Union. Technically, it's where you grew up. I want to know your story. I promise I'll be quiet. Right, Trey?
We'll see.
And start kind of growing up in the Soviet Union, because that's, as a kid, we grew up.
Not near the Soviet Union.
No, but it was Soviet Union, and there was a tension. What was it like? What's the difference? And what brought you here? And what are you doing now?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you that no matter what they say about Russians, right now I'm very proud of being Russian, and I don't feel ashamed for
Right
that.
to it. I love it.
So I've been here for 20 years and love the country. I'm very proud American citizen, by the way.
So you got your citizenship.
Oh, yes.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
And everything was legal. It's not like, people say illegal immigrants.
You didn't swim here?
No, I didn't swim here.
Canoe.
I didn't come here by boat. No.
Right.
I'm curious, how long did it take to finally get your citizenship? Because I know
Good question.
that's a long process.
Yeah, it is a long process, and I went the right way. So I came from a very intellectual, I would say aristocratic family. So my parents sent me here to get my education.
Oh, very cool.
So yes, I'm not a mail order bride.
What did they have to do to send you here? Did they have
Get a
it was
visa, and
okay.
it was so hard.
That's what I think.
goodness.
That's what Trey's question was. How long did that take?
It's hard. It didn't take us long, you know. You have to show your assets and all of that, and you know, basically evidence that you're not gonna stay in the country, right, in America. You'll be
just
back.
for your education. That was the sole
That
purpose.
was the goal. Yes.
Look, I did a master's out of the country, and I did the same thing where you had to get a visa just for the purpose of getting an education.
Yeah.
But you're saying you did this at a younger age.
Yeah.
And your parents were responsible.
Yeah, I mean, my parents had to pay for it.
Well,
It's
yeah, sure,
expensive.
of
Right.
course, yeah.
You know,
That's
yeah.
right. You got to pay to come here. Come on.
business school. I mean, MBA. Yes, it's my.
But you were young. Was this before the college level?
That was 20 years ago.
This was for college.
Yeah,
I thought you meant when you were young.
No.
Okay.
I already had my master's from Russia, and I had 2 bachelors.
And that didn't count, did it? When you came here?
It did count.
It counted,
Actually,
okay.
in order to get MBA, you have to have at least a bachelor because MBA is a master's.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, right. Thank you.
It's okay.
I knew that. I knew that.
okay.
My wife has one of those things, the MB thing.
So how old were you when you came here?
That was 20 years ago.
Oh, you
Okay,
would
yeah.
She's hinted, Trey.
That's fine. Now, yeah, I
That
realized
was- that
I
was
realized the
20 years
question.
ago.
I didn't
I
know.
realized
I
the
didn't know you
question.
could do your MBA when you were 6.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes.
Okay, so you
but-
came here 20 years ago to do your MBA, so people can kind of guess. And when you got here, was it a culture shock because you had grown
Yes.
up
Yeah.
completely?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I want to know about growing up over in the UK. I'm sorry, in the Soviet Union. What was different?
Oh, listen, it was, to me, I didn't enjoy it. And
Okay.
the reason is we had to all look alike, you know. So even though your family had more power and more resources for you to wear, you know, beautiful dresses and things, you were not allowed. My dad wouldn't let me.
Wow.
No, because that's unacceptable. Everybody has to look alike in the same uniforms.
No matter what?
School, yeah, everybody has to be in uniform. You can't really stand out from the crowd, you know. My dad didn't let me wear nail polish, no makeup, no boyfriends,
accessories, no nothing, no necklace, earrings,
nothing,
none of that.
no boyfriends,
Trey-
no.
Trey
So
wouldn't go there.
conservative.
Trey paints his toenails.
Yeah.
He can't go to Russia. He'd be kicked out.
No, that was
Exactly.
So there you have it. The best of Stay in the Gray podcast. And, you know, when you do 33 times 4, I didn't do the math, but I believe it's 132 shows, 100, something like that. When you do that many shows, to go back and choose like 8 clips for only a couple minutes apiece is really difficult. And I was happy about that because that means that I had some stuff I was very proud of. And so the reason I chose what you just heard was because it gave you a good idea of what we're trying to do. When guests come on, we want to have fun, but we also are very intrigued by our guests for some reason. They're adding something. There's something about them that intrigues us as a show. The other clips I chose were recent because this is the direction that I've gone as of now. I want you to know, here's an example of what we talk about. Here's an example of my thought process. Are you like-minded to this? Are you not, but yet you still enjoy hearing another perspective? That's the point of the show. So I hope you enjoyed that. Season 5 will be right around the corner, and boy, there's some good changes coming up. I sound, you know, back in the day, oh boy, here we go. But there's some really good changes. There's a lot of new stuff that's going to be happening, whether it's visually in the cameras, whether it's just topics, whether it's lots going to be happening, and I'm very excited. I have a list of guests. I know that this season the guests were lower. It had a lot to do with time and everybody's busy, and then everybody was sick, and then the change with Trey taking a breather from everything. There was a lot that went on, and so I hope to have more guests. I've got a lineup, and I will tell you that some of them are quite fascinating, and we'll go from there. So the last thing I'll mention that I mention a lot that we have to mention is please hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that follow, throw some comments in there. Even if you're not a super fan, if you are, let me know. I'll get you a t-shirt. But if you're not, and you just every once in a while we click on it and want to check it out, follow. I mean, any engagement really helps the show. And I think our goals and our mission statement, if you will, are good ones. I don't think that there's anything on this show that I'm doing that hurts anybody. And if anybody's offended by anything I say, maybe you should reassess the meaning of offended and why you think you have a right to tell me such. That's the point. Let's all talk, let's all listen, and let's all respect each other's right to an opinion. With that being said, hope you enjoyed it. Best of Stay in the Great podcast, episode 433. I will see you in season 5. I cannot wait. It's going to be great. I love you all.